of our state security apparatus stormed his home. Mr. Speaker, let me remark that when Honorable John Dinapo's home was stormed, there was no prior invitation extended to him. His crime was that he only wrote a legal opinion. A legal opinion warranted the storming of his home without a prior invitation from the police. These are the facts we should compare and contrast. And so, having said that, I did indicate that I, as a lawyer, a human rights advocate,
Honourable Member, conclude,
who was struggling to establish for myself which of the provisions of our Constitution have been violated, I found none. Ken Ofori Atta can submit himself to the law for purposes of investigation, and when there are violations, I'll be the first to speak for and on his behalf. Not until then. He should be law-abiding, come back home, and engage with the special prosecutor so that the allegations that have been leveled against him can be dealt with. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. Honorable Stephen Amwa. Honorable Stephen Amwa, before you start, let me remind the entire House that we are operating within the ambit of Standing Order 93.5. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to make it emphatically clear that Ken Ofori Atta hasn't run away. Mr. Speaker, I would like to advise this August House that I think our actions and omissions over the years have actually defined us, and we have given the public, the external stakeholders, to always see us in different lenses. And it is time we put an end to what we are doing to each other. Mr. Speaker, some of the descriptions they're giving, some even went to the extent of saying that the economy that he left, in fact, I cannot repeat those evil words they use in-house. Mr. Speaker, 2016, the economy Ken Ofori Atta inherited was growing at 3.4%. Mr. Speaker, the inflationary rate was 15.4. Mr. Speaker, lending rate was about 40%. But for COVID, by 2019, we were growing 7%. Inflation was 7%. Under Ofori Atta, we have been able to implement one of the most enviable pro-poor policies on the continent of Africa. How could you describe such a man because of global crisis? Your own former finance minister, do you know the description you are giving to your country? Do you know how you are placing Ghana on the globe because of politics? Do you know what you are doing to your country? Very soon, your ministers will be leaving Ghana for other places, for international assignments. And this is what they will read from your own lips. Mr. Speaker, we shouldn't allow this outmoded, colloquial, primitive politics to continue to destroy our country. Mr. Speaker, we are one people with one destiny as a nation. Mr. Speaker, I am only advising the House.
Honorable Stephen Amwa, did I hear you say primitive politics?
No, I'm talking about Ghana.
Will you consider withdrawing the word primitive politics?
Okay. Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I have done so. But Mr. Speaker, I think I have to make myself clearer here. I am not even speaking against one side. I'm talking about actions and inactions, omissions and behaviors that are dwindling the very reputation of this house. We've been doing this to ourselves for far too long. Now, every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there, even if you are driving Land Cruiser, they think you're a politician. Whether NDC and PP, they don't respect us. And this is why I'm bringing it to our attention. That do we allow yesterday's propaganda or actions or omissions to continue to keep on destroying the very image and reputation of this August house? Is that what we want to do? This is the question I'm asking. Mr. Speaker, are we teaching the younger generation what we are doing today? Mr. Speaker, what does the Constitution say? Article 18, Clause 2. With your permission. A. No one shall be subjected to the interference of his private home and properties. Has that happened or not? The very Constitution that we are. The very laws that we ourselves made, we are undermining the same laws because of politics. We should not sit here and because of politics, Ofori Atta made your family members have free school. Your nephews, your children, your aunties, your friends, your mosque members, your church members. But for Ofori Atta, they would have been home. Let us stop these things against either NDC or MPP. Let us maintain our reputations as a house. Let us believe in one fact that we are one people with a common destiny as a country. All these things we must stop. That is what I mean. Yesterday's politics we should forget. Because we are destroying each other. And we call ourselves honorable members. We all deserve that. But please, Mr. Speaker, what I'm trying to tell the House is that sometimes, because of politics, we say these things, we think we are joking. But those out there, they believe in what we say and they disrespect all of us. Let us protect each other. Let us keep the dignity of this house intact and portray to the people out there that, yes, we have changed. Mr. Speaker, I am ending by telling each and everyone, especially my brothers and sisters from the other side, to repent. To repent. These behaviors must be stopped. We don't do that to ourselves. Look at the leader, respect of our leader. We are all respectable members. But because of politics, I should call you thief, you are this, you are that. And when you go out there, you want people to respect us. I think this...
After this fufu and pepper.
Because of politics, I should call you thief, you are this, you are that. And when you go out there, you want people to respect us. I think this should be the last time for all of us. Let us show love and constructive discussions. Constructive conflict. Conflict C type, not A type.
All member conclude.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I would like to re-emphasize the point that, thank you very much.
I proceed to give the floor to Kwan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Ofori Atta is not above the law. He is not above the law. And then when the special prosecutor, they read the statement today, he is talking about the cathedral. They mentioned cathedral issue. They mentioned SML issues. Those are the issues the special prosecutor is investigating. When they call upon Honorable Ofori Atta to avail himself to the authorities to do the needful, he sent lawyers. And the lawyers they want to represent him. Where is Ofori Atta? He's outside this country. We call upon our former finance minister to do the needful and come back to Ghana and do the needful. This is about public money. It's not personal money. He's not above the law. The security agencies went to the house lawfully. What we should be looking at is that we should inquire as a house whether they have search warrant
to go to Honorable Ofori Atta's home. What we should be looking at is that we should inquire as a house whether they have search warrant to go to Honorable Ofori Atta's home. It's not about wearing white dresses. So nobody is above the law. When you hold public office, you need to be what? Accountable. The day of accountability have arrived. We were in this country. John Jinapo's home was raided. Former Attorney General's home was raided by the military people. Members were invaded in this chamber. At that time, we don't have the locus to say and condemn it. Today we have the moral temerity, the audacity to say that it is wrong. You have the moral ground to talk. You didn't know the day of reckoning will come today. Here we are. Now, karma. This is what we call karma. Karma is real. Those days where even members of parliament are being chased. They can prevented. They can't even do the fugitives. Here we are. So all that I want to say is that Ken Ofori Atta is not above the law. He should submit himself. He should stop running away. He's out of the country. Please call upon him to come back to the country. He shouldn't run behind excuse of medical condition and he will not come. He is fit for purpose, and then we are waiting cautiously, we are waiting patiently for Honorable Ken Ofori Atta to arrive in this country to submit himself to the authority for the needful to do. Why? What are you running away from? What are you running away from? Cathedral, 58 million Ghana cedis was sunk. Dollars, $28 million. $58 million. Which can build Kosimiti, can build a lot of roads. It can be Kosimiti. Is it not true? OPK, is it not true? It can be hospitals. It can be markets. It can do a lot of roads. The agenda 111 business would have finished.
Honorable conclude.
And what are we talking about?
Honorable conclude.
What the SML? Is it not true? Is it not true? Yes. The biggest hole ever Ghana have actually constructed. So nobody is chasing former minister for me. He is supposed to submit himself, and he is not above the law. Mr. Speaker, on this juncture, he swore an oath to protect the public purse, and now the day of accountability is here. So he should just commit himself. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity.
Now, leadership of the House.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make my comments on this matter. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Ken Ofori Atta, a former Minister of Finance and a former presidential envoy, has contributed to nation building. This House, Mr. Speaker, had to wait because he indicated he was unwell and seeking for medical treatment outside. Mr. Speaker, in fact, when he even came, he was the only minister that his vetting took 2 days. And in between, this House indulged him to enable him take some break, to enable him proceed with his vetting. Eventually, he left government as a cabinet minister. And, Mr. Speaker, for the records, on the 2nd of January 2025, he wrote to the then Chief of Staff that he needed to travel to Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, USA, for some medical procedure. Mr. Speaker, after President Mahama had taken office, he again wrote to the current Chief of Staff in a letter dated the 22nd of January 2025, indicating that he would again be absent from Ghana for the same purpose. Mr. Speaker, in fact, in the said letter to the Chief of Staff, he attached a letter from the hospital that he was seeking treatment. Mr. Speaker, indeed, the OSP wrote to him on the 24th of January. In fact, this is the first letter that he received from the OSP. Mr. Speaker, in the said letter, Mr. Ofori Atta instructed his lawyers to respond to let the OSP know that indeed he was out of the jurisdiction seeking medical treatment. Mr. Speaker, what happened yesterday by state security operatives must be condemned by all of us. Honorable John Dramani has narrated his own ordeal, but the records of this House will confirm that when that happened, Right Honorable Speaker Okwe condemned that act. If indeed something had happened yesterday, it does not mean that we should continue today. Mr. Speaker, I've heard human rights activists, respected lawyers for that matter, quote Article 18 of the Constitution to say that that is not applicable in this case. Mr. Speaker, I beg to submit that that was a wrong appreciation of the law. Military men led by Mr. Richard Jakpa unlawfully entered the premises of Mr. Ofori Atta, searched his rooms.
Honorable Minority Leader, the unlawful entry is by your own determination.
Mr. Speaker, you know that by virtue of where we sit, we are able to do some background check before we come here. I wouldn't want to mention names, but Mr. Speaker, when inquiry was made, Mr. Speaker, when inquiry was made, it was our democracy is still young. Today, it is Ofori Atta. Tomorrow, it will be another person. Some of our colleagues should not forget that only yesterday, it took the intervention of certain prominent members of our side to ensure that they were not mistreated. We will not mention names. They know. So these should be the voices of reason on this occasion. Some members worked in the night to ensure that people, members of the political class who are members of this House, were not mistreated. Mr. Speaker, let me remind colleagues, today, if you are praising the OSP, let's not forget that not too long ago, we had some of our members at the receiving end by the OSP. Don't let us also forget that even the president himself became a subject matter of OSP investigation. And he was not happy with certain words used by the OSP against him. So don't let us celebrate. Don't let us celebrate because today it is Ofori Atta. Mr. Speaker, all manner of things are being said that Ken has done this, has done that, has done that. I listened to my colleague from Keta, and I listened to my respected colleague from Bogatanga Central, enumerating what to him amount to offenses. And they also argued again that the man has not been tried, therefore there cannot be any human rights abuse. Mr. Speaker, if you invade somebody's home and raid his home, Article 18 of the Constitution protect that person, except when you are doing so lawfully. On this occasion, there was no such law. There was no such law supporting their actions. So they shouldn't be here happy with it. This 4 years will soon come. No, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, I think the honorable member's order, that response was in respect of the allegation of breach of natural justice. And you and I are very much aware that natural justice is in two main ways: the Odi Atram pattern and Nemo Judas in Council, but actually not in respect of the Constitution. The statement states there was a breach of natural justice.
Mr. Speaker, the contention here is that the man's home was raided by state security operatives, rather unlawfully. And I dare contend that that conduct was unconstitutional. That is my respectful submission, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have done a lot of follow-ups on this matter, and I regret to say that we are not sending the right signal to our electorate. Mr. Speaker, the man has put the state on notice of his absence from the jurisdiction. He has made available his medical records coming from a respected medical facility. Mr. Speaker, today, I repeat, if our friends think that it is another person, so it is okay, and they are describing Ofori Atta in all manner of forms, let me remind them that none can ever rule this country with perfection. The man,
I mean, you are looking back, it is you I'm talking to. You are looking back, it is you I'm talking to. Will you listen to the leader in silence? Why? Leader, continue.
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Member for Keta talked about karma. And I agree with him. I've been reading a lot about karma. The wheels of karma indeed grind slowly, but with great surety. You have quoted it today. Enjoy it whilst it lasts. Mr. Speaker, today he says that we are reaping the fruits of a karmic effect of our actions. So it should be so. You have just come into government. You have a lot of projects you want to undertake. You'll be going to PPA. Ministers will be taking decisions. Some will be good, some will be bad. You will roll out policies for Ghanaians to benefit. Some will pay, some will not pay. You would engage the business community. So bear in mind that this karma you have just referred to, 4 years from today, we may. You can even call it 50 years. 50 years, 60 years. So let us solve the problem now. Let us encourage state security agencies with a mandate to investigate and prosecute to follow the law. Let's encourage them to follow the law. Honorable Nitiwu, in his submission, was being very emotional because just a week ago, he had to invite the leaders to intervene. Some and the clerk. Some people calling themselves state security operatives chased him. his car, a former defense minister. And when they saw the car papers, they now realized that whatever that information they had was wrong. A colonel had to come, and when he questioned them that who sent you, they could not mention. So when we give certain wrong signals, some of those people at the lowest level take advantage to harass people, and even senior members who give order, when they realize that it is wrong, they are unable to even own up. Honorable Nitiwe, a former defense minister, suffered this just a week ago. It took the intervention of leadership and the clerk to parliament to sanitize the situation. Is that what we want? Is that what we want? Mr. Lord Comey, his house was raided. They searched his house, took away all his cars, and after 3 days, they said, we are sorry. They brought the cars back. Is that how we want to govern the country? Mr. Speaker, I shall conclude by urging my colleagues to support this call in bringing sanity in the country, so that nobody will take advantage to unleash any violence on anybody. I rest my case. Thank you.
Yes, majority leadership.
Mr. Speaker, before the statement was made, I had cautioned that this is a statement that definitely will generate commentary that will provoke debate in clear violation of our standing orders. And I caution that it is a statement that will attract comments that will go to perhaps damage the reputation of somebody who is not in this chamber. I cautioned. But my friends on the other side insisted and made a statement. Mr. Speaker, if you are a believer in the rule of law and you know the law, you know that if you claim that somebody has improperly searched your house or your property, you go to court. You go to court for the courts to declare that your property rights have been violated, that your dignity has been violated, and the courts are there to provide you that service of taking a decision as to whether or not indeed your rights have been violated. In court, the two sides will be there, and they will all be heard. But if you choose to use a political platform like this one, Parliament, to raise matters that, properly speaking, are the business of courts, you will receive political responses. And that is what I see happening here. Mr. Speaker, as for me, what I hear being said here is that there is a certain class called the political class, and that political class must take care of each other. And what I hear being said in this chamber is that taking care of each other means that we should not hold each other accountable. Mr. Speaker, I have always contended that it will be the most dangerous thing that will happen to the democracy of this country if a certain group called the political class are allowed to conspire to protect each other. Because what will happen, Mr. Speaker,
Honourable members, order.
Mr. Speaker, I am saying what I hear. What I hear. There has been several referrals to referral to a group called political class. Did you hear that or not? Several times there was a referral to a group known as a political class. And several times a call on members of the political class not to do this to each other. And what do we mean by let's not do this to each other? Let's not, when there is a change in government, try to hold each other accountable this way or that way. I take a position that, indeed, the reason why the voters go and vote for one political party as against the other is so that they will come and hold each other accountable. The day that we stop holding each other accountable, that will be the day the electorate will lose confidence in this democracy. And when they lose confidence in this democracy, that is the end of democracy in Ghana. So we must hold each other accountable. When we vote for a new party and the party come, they owe a duty to those who voted them to hold those who have been taken out accountable. As for how they do it, it should be a matter of following due process and the law. Let's talk about nolle prosequi. I heard somebody mention nolle prosequi. And withdrawal of prosecutions. Mr. Speaker, if the state of Ghana, if the Republic of Ghana prosecutes a citizen for 8 years and is unable to convict that citizen, then there's a problem. There is a problem. How can the state mount a prosecution for 8 good years with all the resources at the disposal of the state and yet not be able to convict that citizen? Or at least get a ruling on that citizen. Either you are guilty or you are not guilty. So when you are unable and you try somebody for 8 good years, and you cannot secure a conviction, then clearly there's something wrong with the case. And so if another Attorney General comes and is convinced that you don't even have a basis for the prosecution and enters a nolle prosequi, that is not a case of clearing people. You had 8 good years to secure a conviction, and 8 years you failed. Clearly there's something wrong, and that is what has manifested itself in a nolle prosequi. Mr. Speaker, let me say that I cautioned against making the statement because I didn't want us to go into a situation where we'll be making unfair comments about somebody who is not in the chamber to defend himself. Mr. Speaker, the facts are simple. That military officers, policemen, and national security personnel invaded, entered, searched the private property of the former Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I will not run any commentary on that matter until I've conducted some investigations, ascertain what the facts are, and then I will come and appraise this House of exactly what happened so that we can be properly informed. If there is anything that we should condemn about what has happened, we can collectively as a House condemn it. I caution you that don't involve commentary that will undermine the image of someone, because I will not be happy if it is done to me, and that is why I objected. And so I'm not going to join colleagues to comment on the statement, except to add that the Office of Special Prosecutor has been severally mentioned. This was an office that was established to investigate and prosecute alleged cases of corruption and abuse of office by public officers. They have indicated that in this instance, they are investigating the former finance minister for two stated matters that they are investigating, which is matters relating to SML. I'm sure you are all aware that it was a big issue in this country where it is alleged that there was some corruption scandal relating to revenue assurance contracts awarded by the Ministry of Finance and the GRA to SML. And then secondly, there's this big issue of the National Cathedral, which we all know the story of, that some monies were paid for work that is supposed to have been done there, and it is alleged that the work has not been done. So the special prosecutor is seized with the matter, is investigating the matter, and wants the former finance minister to appear before them for some investigation.